And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you.
Welcome, it's Neil McRae, and I'm here with 4 inmates from the Pinball Penitentiary somewhere in the UK. It's a secret location. We're all locked up over Christmas, but I'm joined by some fabulous friends, and I'm going to introduce them. I'm going to start Davey.
Hello, Neil. How you going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm on my home setup today, so none of the bells and whistles of my usual podcasting setup. So if my sound is as bad as it was in the pre-recording, I'm sorry, everyone, but we'll do our best.
Chris, welcome.
Hello, mate. Thank you. Got to say publicly, thank you for lending me Evil Dead. It's getting some use. It's not even scared my younger daughter. She thinks it's her new favourite game. So there you go.
Yeah, it's more, I'll be honest with you, partly selfish because I've got nowhere to put the damn thing. But
it's true, he hasn't. I went to his lockup a couple of days ago. What was there? There was that much room left, wasn't there? Yeah. And then that's it. There's no more room at the inn.
I can barely squeeze a pinball in. The ball, not the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my partner in crime on regular kind of...
He's so good, he can't remember my name.
No, I was trying to think of something witty to say and my brain failed me as usual.
I think that will do though, Neil, won't it? Hello, Neil. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, of course. I didn't even introduce. I'm Neil. So basically, this is my crazy idea, and which was because I saw a few of the US guys doing kind of wrap ups and gang meets and stuff, and I thought, well, we should do one here. I did actually invite Martin Aab, but unfortunately, he's flat out busy over Christmas. I last seen in the North Pole helping Santa build toys is my understanding. So anyway, shout out to Martin, who's the other criminal that was let out for good behaviour, but otherwise he'd be with us tonight. So this is just a kind of a bit of fun. We're gonna just kind of wrap up the end of the year, talk about a few games, get a different take. I think we've got 4 wildly variety in terms of game loves and likes, but kind of give our take on it. And then towards the end, if we've got time, we'll kind of have a quick look to the future. But what a bumper year for games. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, maybe 13 games released last year. So, I mean, David, I remember us being at TPF when there was a big bunch of games. What was it, Foo Fighters and a bunch of other stuff. We'll think it'll never be bigger than this.
Pulp Fiction,
Pulp Fiction, that year.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And now, every year, it's like 10 to 12 new games comes out. And people wonder why we're skint and why we've got no space.
Why you can't fit a pinball in your locker. Yeah, it's insane, and it's a little bit scary as well. You know, it's sort of one of those ones where you're loving it and you're enjoying it, but you're wondering whether it's sustainable for the hobby as well. So it's kind of like it's a bit of a catch-22 in a way, and long may it continue, but at the same time, will it?
Yeah, Chris. I mean, we were talking about space and game movement. A crazy year, right?
It really is. So I've just, as you know, because you've taken one, and I've just got rid of 3 games to create space. We're up to the eternal space issue here, but it was quite interesting actually, because I do think we are in another golden age of pinball, and I know it's difficult for everybody, and I know these things are ridiculously priced, but you do. It's such an addictive hobby. You sort of do what you got to do. Like I'm just saying, you get rid of games because you bring something else in. And I don't think I've ever been so tempted as I have been for this year and more nervous about next year with some of the games that are planning to come out, because you're just thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to get the space? You sort of want everything. I think this is the first year where maybe 3 or 4 games have come out all in the same year, and I've thought I've got to have them, but obviously, you don't have everything. You've got to pick and choose, which is what I've done.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean, the great thing about this is something for everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I don't know, like, you say that at the same time, you're just like, I want everything. It's like, I'm in the same boat as everyone. It's like, the space is the problem.
No, it's. I mean, I genuinely, like, as I said, every year I'm like coming out of last year with Jaws and X-Men, and I think, crikey, what's next year going to be? And genuinely an insane number of games. And look, let's start at the start with Evil Dead. Chris, what take us through? You've had it for a few days. You're probably the freshest to it, right? In terms of newness, what give us your take on Evil Dead?
Blown away by it. It's funny you say that. Take us to the start of the year. You're right. This is brand new for me. It is the last game I played earlier on today. What I would say is I'm somebody that I play one game. That's what I tend to do, right? So I could have 10 games here, and I'll tend to play one game for a month. That's just how I play pinball. Then I'll move on to something else. The biggest thing I can say is I got June set up here. You remember this, Neil? They came on the same day. I got the June set up 2 hours before Evil Dead was set up. Ordinarily, the way I am, I would just play June. I'd probably play June until the start of January. Then I would go and play Evil Dead. Evil Dead has just lured me over, and like I said, I'm playing both games. But the Evil Dead, I knew it was good because we saw it at. You obviously brought one to Pinfest. I had a little play, but you know what it's like. You're getting drunk, you're speaking with people, you're not paying that much attention to the games. I hear what everyone else is saying about Evil Dead, and you look at it and you go, yeah, the topper is great, and lower playfield. And you saw that little flipper that comes out by the slingshot. Whenever I see anything like that, even sometimes upper playfields, lower playfields, I think gimmick. I don't care for them. How does the game shoot? How does the game play? I think that game is magnificent. It's magnificent. They couldn't have put more into it. I think if they'd have possibly tried, it's blown me away. And I was expecting greatness because everybody built it up so much. Often, the best game is the one you're not expecting. So my anticipation was so high that you think it can't possibly be that good. It really, really is that good. I was lucky, and I'm very lucky to get exposed to the games I had. I had both Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Looney Tunes, both here as well, lined up together. So I got to road test those games. I was amazed how much better this is than them. And there's nothing wrong with those games. This even shoots better. The flipper feels better. You want to make the shots. You want to progress. It feels vast. It feels luxurious. It's so big. It's a wide body, and the artwork, and just even on the speaker panels, and even before you get to anything else, and then you look, and you've got that upper flipper, that little slingshot one is not a gimmick. It's a proper pinball shot.
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody, I get bored of upper and lower playfields very, very quickly. So I got really bored of the avatar thing. I got tired, and I said that I did a video. I got tired of it very quickly. It became a nuisance. I actually thought, well, this is interrupting my game. And even a game I love, like Congo, the lower playfield interrupts my game. It's an inconvenience. I'd love that little playfield on there. It's just right. They've got it right. You know, like with Munsters, you've got the lower playfield, and it feels like the ratio to the small flippers and the ball is not right.
Yeah.
They've got that right. Whatever it is, the weight of the ball's right. Overall, it's an outstanding game, Neil. I've been blown away by it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I'll be honest with you. So I'm a massive Evil Dead fan. I've got like the Ultra HD Blu-rays. I've got a thing signed by Sam Raimi. I've got a thing signed by Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell's like a legend for me. But I tell you what, and he listens to all of us actually. That guy Chris Franchi, he absolutely laid out the high addictive cocaine in the artwork, because once I was like, spooky game, everyone knows I like reliable games, and I was thinking, spooky Evil Dead, but the minute I saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be hard to resist as a fan of the game. And then we played the game in Texas, and I got very lucky. They had one there that wasn't sold. And I couldn't have ran to the bank quicker to get the money. I mean, it was like it was just nuts. And I think just to build on what you said, the one thing I'll say is, even though it's a wide body, it doesn't feel like a wide body in terms of the ball flow, because you're trying to, the way they've laid the shots out. There's the only time you're kind of going across the playfield is for the hand shot, and I think just the way they've laid it out just makes it feel like it's. I mean, there's definitely space there, but it doesn't feel like you're that there's too much space. Like if I think about something like Star Trek Next Gen, where it feels like the ball takes an age to cross from one side to the other, right? This feels fast. It feels punchy, and again, the thing about having it at home, you all these little. There's so much detail in the audio that they've taken from the movies, and it feels like you're in the game. And then they brought out a bunch of accessories for it, which we won't spend too much time on because we're trying to get through a lot. But Davey, I mean, for me, I kind of called it like at TPF and said I think this is going to be game of the year.
I think it most definitely is too. I think it's the one that took everybody by surprise. I mean, what you were saying, Chris, about where Spooky had come from and what they'd been doing up until that point. I don't think that anybody truly expected it to be as amazing as it was. And yeah, like you were saying, Neil, about the artwork, I mean, Frenchie's always done amazing stuff, but this is far and away the best work that he's ever done on a pinball machine. Just everything came together just in the right way. The color scheme, I mean, it's quite punchy in terms of how colourful it is, but it's done in a way that, is still sort of very dark and ominous, with the blues and the greens and the purples and stuff. And yeah, Neil, what you were saying about the sound, I mean, the one that jumps out to me is when you hit the shotgun shot and those shells drop to the floor. It's just such a satisfying sound.
Yep.
Is that because I'm not massive? I mean, I've never seen the movies, and I'm very sorry to everybody who's a massive fan, and I will get around to it at some point. But is that? Do you know if that particular sound effect is from the movies, or is that one that they sort of?
Well, that's definitely in the movie. Whether that's specific, because it feels. I don't know what they've done, and whoever did the sound on the game, which actually isn't, you normally hear who does the sound. I don't know who did the sound on the game, but I agree with you. Just that shot, the shells hitting the ground. I was like, that was like a shiver up my spine when I was playing at TPF. I was lucky I got to play it before the crowds were in.
Yeah.
Because when you're at a show, it's like you're saying, Chris. It's so hard to judge a game on the audio. And Scott, I know for you, audio's massive.
Definitely.
The whole that whole package is great. And then even back in March when we played it first, the code has come on massively over. They've put a massive wizard mode in. They put a huge video mode in, actually maybe a little bit too big because it goes on for a bit. But this is. It's hard to challenge the value of that game. As it's almost a game where you could be you always talk about this. What's the one pin you could have? I would definitely put that in there because it's deep. It's got a lot to it, and they've added a huge amount. Scott,
yeah, it's a big regret not getting it, to be honest with you, because my wife, I got her to watch Evil Dead. Just Davey, so you understand it. Don't really bother with the first film. There's a bit of history around it, but basically. Bruce Campbell, got the rights to make the sequel. Wanted to remake the first film, and he couldn't get the rights to do so. So he just made a sequel. But in theory, it's just a remake. So when you watch the second movie, it's just a remake of the first one. So just watch that one. Army of Darkness, which is the third film, or technically the second film, if you want to call it that, isn't present in the game. But I think, from what I understand, at least from what Bug said, they might actually even do an Army of Darkness now, based on the success of this one.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. I mean, I'm sort of, I wasn't aware of that fact about the first and second films. That's really interesting.
Yeah, just watch the second one, honestly. It's a good film. I think it's a little dated now. You have to kind of watch it with a little bit of rose-tinted goggles, as with all things of that era. But Bruce Campbell's humor is there, present as it is in the game. A lot of people said, like, I remember even on the forums reading it in the UK, they were like, "Oh, it's pretty dry," but that's his humor. That's how he comes across. And it's definitely, for me, I think it encapsulates the world. You know what I mean? They really did. I love it when Pinball now, and I know it's a tired phrase, world under glass, but it really does feel like they tied everything together. You mentioned the audio, Neil. Like, for me, everything just, like, they take everything up a notch. Like, the topper is insane. I'd love it, but I also think with a 3-month-old, as it grows older, it's going to be absolutely terrified of that thing. It's a scary looking topper.
So Evil Dead arrived at the workshop this week, and I got it set up maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And I got a visit from one of the dads who I've now got sort of doing a bit of assembly work for me as well. And he's sort of been mentioning, I want to come in and get a game and take it back to the house over Christmas. I'm like, great, I need the space. It's all yours. Come and grab one. And so he brought the kids in, to just have a look around the games and so they could choose. And they ended up choosing The Simpsons Pinball Party in the end. But they came in, and Evil Dead's obviously front and center right at the front of the workshop so that I can, get to it and play it. And the little boy, he's probably like, I think 7.
Yeah.
Took one look at it and you could see he's like just stopped in his tracks. And he's like, it's not too freaky. It's not too freaky. It's fine.
It's when it starts moving, I bet it's scared of a bit.
Absolutely shooting himself. So, yeah. I haven't put the topper on mine yet. I don't think I will. Just for situations like that. Like we have, another person on assembly. She's got a young daughter as well. And, I think even just the artwork on the sides and the front and the back glass are scary enough to put off most kids. So, I think I'll leave the topper for now.
Yeah, we have the topper on in attract mode in the club.
Love it.
And it occasionally freaks out the odd person there.
I wonder what people see because it's in a mall, right? So did you just get like general passers-by and they see this thing going like that? Yeah, I just wonder what they're thinking. What the hell is that?
You're going to get these eyes like that, and they're like, really? It's kind of weird. And we're like, come in, we need the money. But look, I think a great... I returned to form for Spooky, and also the games. I mean, I've taken that game took it to Pinfest. It was at TPF, so it was on the floor at TPF for 4 days. Took it to Pinfest, took it to UK Open. It's been in the club. We've had a couple of things, but nothing that a game that gets played hard you wouldn't expect to see. We had a coil slip and a couple of other things, but we did have one issue with magnetic balls for a bit. That's the only thing I say about it. Make sure you use Polaris balls in it, otherwise it gets a bit confused. But I think a great return to form for Spooky and really lines them up. I think we're all excited about Beetlejuice for next year. We'll maybe try and cover that a little bit towards the end. So I'm I'm just thinking we've got so many games and not a huge amount of time. So I'm going to move us on. I think another kind of battler for Game of the Year, Harry Potter. First of all, Phil and Jack invited a bunch of us to play it, which was a great gig to play it early. And the event was really cool, and we got to play Harry Potter, and I was super impressed by how the game shoots. I didn't really get a chance to play it as much as I would have liked, so I've played it elsewhere, but ultimately got a huge amount of... I really feel that it's Eric's best shooting game by a mile, and I think you can see that Jersey Jack spent a lot of money on it. Chris, you were there. Take us through Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, look, a slight disadvantage because we're obviously going to talk about June later and Evil Dead. I've got 2 of the games we're going to talk about are here. So I like everybody else. I was lucky. I got probably half an hour on my own on Harry Potter, which was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It did shoot very, very well, but it's not enough time to almost even begin to learn the rules because it's a big, complicated game. It's a visual feast. just talking about the shots, I mentioned earlier on about I find sort of upper lower playfields gimmicky. That upper playfield, the Quidditch playfield, is my favourite part on that game. And that looped Quidditch shot, never mind upper playfield, is one of the better shots in pinball. That's how good that upper shot is. It's so good. Just innovation again with, like they did with the drumsticks on Guns N' Roses, that they've got the not wire forms, they've got 3 magic wands. Even little details like when you ball lock one of the magic wand tips lights up, ball lock two of them light up. And apparently, I don't know that much about the lore of Harry Potter. I've watched it with the kids, but you know, it's like when you're watching stuff with kids, you watch it, but you're not maybe taking everything in. They are realistic. They are whatever Hermione's and Ron's and Harry's magic wands. They're all different. This is good. This is why you need people, and I think Eric is good for that because obviously he loved the lore of it in the same way that he loved Guns N' Roses. You need someone that's going to love it because then they can put those details in that maybe you wouldn't think of. It was very fast. I suspect, because obviously I didn't read the books, I've just watched the films. I suspect if I was going to see one, I haven't played one yet, it would be a wizard one, which might appeal more to me because you've got that playfield artwork, which is going to match with the cabinet artwork rather than the book one. But I mean, it's just a triumph, and on another year, probably would win Game of the Year. It's that good, but this is a really, really tough year. But I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about it. But I think seems very deep, lot of levels. What are there, eight films or whatever? There's a lot of stuff to cram into there. So I think you need to spend a lot of time with that game. But honestly, I've not heard anybody say a bad word about it. But love that Quidditch stuff at the top. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I find the code, and this is a thing I'd say often about Jersey Jack games. So it is a super deep game. I mean, there's so many things happening, and like Guns N' Roses, I just kind of sometimes feel it's a bit overwhelming. It's the only kind of criticism I've got of the game, and I'm not a Harry Potter fan. In fact, I can't stand the theme if I'm honest with you. It's not something for me, but. I played it. I went to Interium in the US for an event there, and I basically spent the whole afternoon. I put about $50 in it, and it was basically just so if you want to decide whether you like a game or not, you've got to put a lot of plays on it because there's so many games that you walk away from. After 2 plays, and then you go back to them and you think, "Oh, this is great." Scott, have you played Harry Potter yet?
No, I've only watched streams and that, and it was a tough decision because I ended up buying 3 new boxes this year, and that wasn't one of them. I think I would have gone for it, but because my wife is a Harry Potter fan, and I don't mind Harry Potter, to be honest with you. I've watched the whole, saga, if you will, from front to end. But I don't know, just for me. Jersey Jacks, I've had them before, and similar to you, Neil, I've always been a bit skeptical on the code when it comes to them because they're really multi-ball heavy, and I'm just not. I get frustrated with Guns N' Roses because I was like, every time I wanted to get into a song, I'd start multi-ball, and then I couldn't get into a mode, and it felt like an obstacle to getting to the progress. For me, I'm probably a different kind of player to most. I don't really play games to get the highest score. I try and play a game to quote unquote complete it. I want to get to the wizard mode. For me, that's my goal when I want to play a game. And I feel like that game I'll probably never get there anyway because the code looks insanely deep. Maybe I'll pick one up secondhand at one point. I feel like Chris says, and I echo what he said there, it's a tough competition this year for games. Oh, yeah. And I feel like if it wasn't like this year and it was like maybe the year before or the year before that, I might have bought it. But for me, it was just there were other titles I wanted and that I went for in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, value. One thing I'll say for Jersey Jack is they did a phenomenal job of, at least I think, of making the game look like a game worthy of that franchise. If I think of Star Wars, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but, there's two, Harry Potter definitely feels like, hey, this is a big title, let's spend some money on it. Star Wars... feels like it was rushed out a little bit. Still a great game in my view, but it doesn't feel like it carries the weight of the theme that Star Wars must be the biggest IP on Earth, right? I would have thought. Doesn't quite feel like it hits that mark. I love it, I'd say, but I feel that if you put those 2 games, fast forward 10 years from now, right? you put those two games together, and you're going to say, you might think, well, what were they thinking on the Star Wars side? And I know, Davey, you're a bit of a critic of that.
Neil. This is actually the most derogatory I've ever heard you talk about Star Wars. It's the first
Or Stern.
You're 100% a backer of that game. But we'll get to that in a bit. Scott, I'm really pleased that I'm not a completionist when it comes to pinball like you are, because I'd be a very disappointed player if I was. I'm not 100% sure I've ever gotten to a wizard mode in my life.
What, not even Creature?
No, I don't think so. Maybe
you must have spelt film. That's really short code.
Oh yeah, but would you class that a wizard mode? That's not.
It's the closest thing to a wizard mode in Creature, probably, isn't it? It's the end of the game, so to speak. Anyway,
maybe, but like, when people talk about wizard modes, I button up because I can't really mention one that I've ever been to. What an admission is that? But I always go for the high score. Getting back to Harry Potter, so I played maybe 3 games at Expo this year, and I was prepared for it to be like Avatar, because it kind of looked like Avatar to me. There was this big jumble of ramps in the back half. It looked really, looked too cramped, too complicated. And so I just thought it was going to shoot like Avatar. And I was really not a fan of Avatar when I played it at all, probably for the same reasons you were, Chris. I just didn't think it shot well. I didn't think it was fun. I didn't think it was engaging. But Harry was completely different. It shot really nicely. The upper playfield is an absolute dream. I think I only got up there once or twice in those 3 games, but just the shots up there were so satisfying. I was really jazzed by it in the end. So I'm really pleased that they knocked that one out of the park, because it's a massive IP. It needed to do really well. I think it has done reasonably well. For me, my favourite game up until this point of theirs has been Elton John. I absolutely love that game. I think it's great, but then it doesn't really feel like a Jersey Jack game in a lot of ways, outside of the light shows and stuff. I think it shoots completely differently to most of their games up until this point. But yeah, I think it was fantastic.
No,
I think they've all felt grand. The 2 games we've mentioned so far, and certainly when we'll talk about June as well. They're grand, and it's got that grand feel about it. Harry Potter, it really, really does. I think you do think when you're playing it, this is a premium game that they probably put quite a lot of money into. You do, you definitely do feel that. And I say this a lot, Davey. I said it the other day. I was talking about one of your mods on Jaws. The mod makers have had to finish that game to make that. Like Jaws is, like my Jaws is now, which was just over there with some of your lovely stuff in it, and loads of other great mod makers. You feel that would have come out of Jersey Jack like that, that is now. So yeah, it's very, very grand. But like I always say, I don't want to be disingenuous when I really, really like a game, and I think so I'll go and get it. I'll find a way. I'll sell something else, and I'll go and get it. And the proof of the pudding's in the tasting.
I mean, the benefit, right, of having Harry Potter selling so many units, and let's face it, there's no limitation on how many they're going to make. I think this is going to be like Guns N' Roses for them, right? They'll be making this probably for the next few years to come.
Yeah,
you get one. Fairly confident I'll pick one up sooner or later in the second-hand market.
I'll get an arcade one. I would, and I probably will. I probably will next year, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still after an Elton John. I had one, but it was not great. I ended up moving it on quickly because it wasn't as reliable as I would have liked it to be. But a fair play for Harry to JGP for investing. I mean, they must have spent a ton of cash on that game.
Yeah,
and it's interior, it stands out. You can see, hey. It's almost like 2 invisible neon signs saying, "This game, come and play it."
My only major criticism is that topper. You compare it to every other topper coming out recently; it just doesn't hit the same.
So they had contracted somebody to build the topper.
Okay.
And there was a late-minute change, which meant that they pulled out. So that topper, I think, was
the backup plan by the sounds of it. Then.
It was, and obviously had timelines that they needed to hit.
I mean, I feel like that game, there was lots of rumors of license issues. They had the AI art issue. I feel like it, almost from the start, they were under a bit of pressure. But I still feel like they sailed through it. Yeah, the topper's not so great, but it's not killing out, not
Doesn't
killing.
massively matter, I don't think.
Exactly.
And the AI art thing as well, like, I mean, obviously that would have caused a lot of sleepless nights internally for them, I think. And it would have been a really stressful time to navigate that. And there would have been a lot of finger pointing and who knows what the true story is on that and who knew what and when. But I think that when it, there's always, I think there was a lot of interesting sort of talks and stuff at Expo with a lot of the artists, pinball artists, and about the creep of AI and what that means for, pinball artists and things like that. And I guess that was all in response to this JJP thing. So it's created a lot of conversation, which is really good, I think. And it's also exposed that, once again, pinball is primarily populated by old dudes who don't change very much. So, I
agree.
Everybody's going to think twice before, or at least be a lot more studious in checking, the artwork that's being produced by artists they contract.
So I think we're all giving Harry, probably with maybe not you, Scott, because you've not played it, but I think we're giving Harry Potter a thumbs up.
Oh, definitely. Brilliant, yeah.
And I mean, it's selling like hotcakes. They can't build enough of them. And I do feel like, I always kind of look at the legacy aspects of this. Looking, from the future back, you'll think, you imagine Iron Maiden. It's coming up for 10 years, believe it or not. Keith, is it? Maybe not. Maybe 8 years, I think. But I look at it and think they just smashed it with that game, and I kind of feel that JG, when you look back on this, you'll think, yeah, they did it justice, and puts them probably in a good position for whatever next comes along. So I'm going to move us on. I'm going to go from yin to yang and pull out the disaster that is the Blues Brothers. So I have
thumbs down just without
even
talking.
I mean I don't want to spend too much time on this, but again, I'm another massive Blues Brothers fan. When I heard that Mike had got the license, some part of my soul died. And because I just knew it was going to be awful. And given this is the thing, Kirk Sadler, who's a massive Blues Brothers fan, where I was talking to him, he used to run Tilt. And, with it being a Chicago-based thing and the home of pinball being Chicago, how does some bozo in Taiwan end up with a license and then takes another great game, Stars, totally mangles that. It's an old Stern game, which is phenomenal. You play it in Pinball Republic if you want to see what the original looked like, and literally do probably the minimalistic amount he could do to get away with selling a pin, and it's not even that cheap. And so I got to play it at TPF, and honestly, I just wanted to cry. There should be a law against doing something with pinball licenses that just I don't know what more I can add to it.
Yeah, it's have either of you guys played Chris, Scott? Yeah. So when did you play? Because they brought one to the UK show, didn't they?
There was one at Pinfest.
There was. It's a funny one because over the years in pinball, there's certain phrases you hear people say when they talk anecdotally about playing a game, and I'll say, I went to an arcade and I put a £2 coin in the machine, and I didn't even finish all the 3 balls. I walked away. And I think it's just grandstanding. You're speaking like you're in a theatre. You finished your 3 balls. That's what you finished them. You're just saying you don't, whatever. I get, Anyway, so that's the first time I've ever actually experienced that feeling. And I think actually maybe people weren't lying. And I did. And I sat on, and I remember I turned round. I turned round to my son and I said, play that. played out, and it wasn't even making it up the playfield at one point. It wouldn't go up the ramp. It was terrible. It was true. I didn't even feel like a pinball machine. It felt like somebody that didn't know anything about pinball had done it on their sixth form project or something, and they didn't have the right coils or the right springs, and it wouldn't. No, this is not. You've looked at one, and this is how it's supposed to. But it didn't. It hadn't been built with any sort of pinball expertise at all. I don't really need to say any more about it than that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing with Spinal Tap. You know, like it was so bad that it was almost like it. You know, I was getting people to go and play it just so that they could experience how bad it was. You know, it's like it was a call to arms. It's like you honestly have to go and play that to experience how terrible it is. And I will give anybody £100 if they can hit the saucer shot, because I'm almost positive it's impossible.
Oh, I did it. But I'll back that statement. For me, I said to anybody, if you wanted to create a scale where you're saying 0 is the absolute worst and 10 is the best, I know what 0 is, and it is Blues Brothers.
It is. That's why you need to play it, so to calibrate your scale.
Yeah,
but this is a thing, right? This is what made me cry partly the most in this. Okay, forget that they've murdered Blues Brothers, the theme, but Stars is such a great pinball machine. Steve Kirk, one of the pioneers. There was an earlier kind of prototype picture that looked more like the original, and I thought that might save this, but like there's one bit. Stars is all about the spinners, and then they widened the top bit so that you couldn't actually put a spinner anymore. Then they moved the spinner around the corner, so you can actually rip and hit the spinner. So I just thought, what the hell? And I mean, it's got some fans, and these are people who clearly have been locked, up for 10 years, never played pinball, and have came out and thought it's pinball. I love it, but it's just awful, basically. And the one at TPF went on, it broke about 3 times as well.
Even just to reuse an existing layout is just, it just speaks of their approach, doesn't it? It's just like, why would we go to the effort of designing our own one when we can just rip off somebody else's design?
It just occurred to me there is
when Stars got any recompense for the use of that layout.
It just occurred to me, Neil, there is one game we haven't actually thought about listing, which we might want to, although I doubt any of us have played it. Maybe Davey played it, maybe you've played it and you've just forgot about it. The Wonderland Amusements Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't played it.
I saw it, walked past it. I didn't.
I think it's a next year game too, mate.
I think next year. I'm just wondering if that will be the contender for the new worst game, or will it beat Blues Brothers? Time will tell.
Yeah. Very interesting. It's a very interesting project, I suppose, in the sense that it's sort of trying to rehash that idea that to make an affordable pinball machine. But I think it's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's cool.
So let's move on from Blues Brothers, because I don't want to.
Yeah, we can't waste too much time on something this dire.
Rubbish. Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm gonna jump because I know we've got some fans of this game. In fact, I think we're all fans of this game. To Dune. So let me just give my spiel about Dune. The original movie way back when, and the books I was a big fan of. The new movies, I just felt they were overwhelmingly kind of, I don't know, just too big. And then when this game came out, I thought, okay, cool, great theme, great choice for a theme. When I first played it, it was literally just out the door, and the code was just awful. I mean, I think if you talk to David now, he kind of admits that they kind of should have put more, probably waited a little bit, let the code mature. The first time I played it, I thought, oh my God, this is awful. I mean, it was at Pinburg. I then played it a few months later in Chicago, and thought, wow, this game is fantastic. And it's on my list to obtain at some point in time. And actually, I was getting close to buying one when they did Winchester, which is we'll try and cover later on. But I think I think a lesson learned for Barrels of Fun, but a very beautiful looking game that shoots really well. And I think, as they develop the code, it's going to be a very strong contender. Maybe Scott, you've maybe played it the most.
Yeah, I've got definitely a lot of plays out of it now. I mean, like for me, I was a bit like you, Neil, when I first saw the game launch. And me and Holly, as in my wife, she's massive Dune fans, and unlike you, I suppose, I really do like the new movies. I prefer them, to be honest with you, over the original. The Hans Zimmer or Zimmerman, is it? I can't remember his surname.
Hans Zimmer, the composer.
That's it. Yeah, man, the music score. I love it, and you put that on like Dolby Atmos with the sound and everything. It's surreal. Like he's built a world with that music for me. It's a bit like Williams, if you know what I mean, with the Jurassic Park stuff like that. For me, he's on that sort of level of quality. But to the game itself, like it came around for me when I saw Carl D'Angelo play it. I think it was like 4 months ago when they finally got assets approved and they had like a code that was fairly like further along. And the game for me just went from being this kind of like, it looks ropey, I'm not too sure about this, to, oh my God, I have to have this. And watching him play, I suppose, is a bit unfair because he makes the game look easy. You sit him in front of a pinball machine, he shoots every shot as if it's just like a slice of cake. It's just like elegance for him. Every shot just seems like it just flows. But for me, at least, it demonstrated the game does have flow, and I have at least experienced that having the game now. For me, I can change shots from one to another. I really love how you can like nail the harvester, and it reminds me a lot, to be honest with you, of Medieval Madness, destroying the castle. Has that kind of moment in it that I like, and then the full integration between like the screen at the back with the screen on the top, and you can see the ornithopter that you have to shoot, and it moves across the screen, and that indicates where you need to destroy it. I love that integration that they've
It's almost like a Pinball 2000 thing, isn't it? What they wanted to do there.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what I mean. Like I've noticed every time Barrels of Fun have made a game now, and unfortunately we won't be able to talk about Winchester because it's considered obviously for next year, but they keep doing more and more integration with the screen. And I feel like every time they do it, they take it a step further. And at least June for me, like I've been really satisfied with the purchase. I'm super happy with it. I still think in my heart, Evil Dead is probably the better game, and it's the game that got away. But Doom for me is a strong contender for like second place, and I'm really happy I got it, and I'm definitely won't be shifting it on for some time.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything you just said there. Actually, I think it will probably go down as well, I can already tell it's going to be one of my favorite ever pinball machines. I can just already tell that. They've built an atmosphere in it. And like you, I love the Frank Herbert books. I love the modern films. This was a dream theme for me. And you're thinking, please don't muck this up. That's all I ever think when anyone does a dream theme. Please don't muck this up. So I was absolutely blown away. It was inconvenient. I couldn't afford it. I sold Big Lebowski to get it. And that is another massively packed pinball machine. It's got a bowling alley in it, for goodness sake. Right? That's how good that thing is. So the kickback. They've stored a pinball, and the kickback is another pinball hitting the ball. That's incredible. The worm everybody knows about. The sound's off the chart. When they released that, Barrels of Fun got a load of people in there, and they looked like they'd never played pinball before. So I watched it. I thought, oh, this has got no flow. This is clunky as hell. Yeah, really, really clunky. So I thought that's why I waited. I thought I am not until I've played it. And then when I played it, I thought, oh, right, okay, they've obviously had a bad day. Maybe it's set up badly. Like yourself, Scott, it's hitting the shots. I'm not the best player in the world. And the first time I ever saw where the Bene Gesserit, put your hand in a box. So actually, you've got a similar thing with Evil Dead, which is you've got to use the two flipper buttons on the right to control both flippers. I love things like that. I remember there was the limited flip thing on, not Xmas. What's the Keith Elwyn game with the Avengers, right? Limited flips. I like it when they do something a little bit creative like that. So you've got to keep your hand on the action button. Then basically you lose your ball's drained. Well, you might be able to get it back, and that's if you've got to use one hand on both flippers. And if you've got to hit this shot, you get your ball back. It's brilliant. The moods, the bass that comes through when she speaks and she summons Paul Atreides over. Whoa, it makes the room shake. I got nothing but good stuff to say about that game. And if they're stopping doing it, and they are going to stop that at 600 units or whatever, there's gonna be people that really would have wanted that game. But you win some, you lose some. Neil has been kind enough to lend me the Evil Dead, but I do look at Evil Dead and think, oh, would have loved that. But I do agree with you. I think a close second, June, to Evil Dead, but a magnificent game. On any other year, that game wins.
Just quickly on that as well, because I know Davey's got to speak his part. What I thought interesting is Evil Dead had a really slow start, didn't it, on the sales cycle? Didn't actually didn't sell through, so to speak, until halfway through the year. And it's the same thing kind of happened with Doom, but it's not given that same opportunity. I think it's now being superseded by another title, really.
Yeah.
I think for me, at least, as I say, I'm just happy I got one. And a big credit to Jeff. I think watching his streams, Dirty Paul, I think he's called on Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really did obviously bring the sound to a new level. I think he's having him on board along with Carl. It's definitely a great choice for Barrels of Fun. I'm really happy that they've got those two working on titles.
It's incredible. What I would say, by the way, is talk about expectations, because we know that, and because Jeff's done that, and because everybody knows, I think, that June has got such exceptional sound. I was then very surprised when I turned on Evil Dead and I thought, wow, this is good as well. I didn't realise Evil Dead was going to have such good sound.
It's great, isn't it? It's nice to be in the, as you say, the golden era.
It really is.
So I think Evil Dead sold out partway through TPF. I think they sold their last 50 units to a distributor. And so it was kind of like, I mean, you're right, it was slow, and then everybody went to TPF, realised it was an absolute banger. Word started getting around, and then suddenly they just went through their entire allocation in the space of about 2 or 3 days. And interestingly, like June had a slow start too, didn't it? They made a couple of missteps in terms of, when they were doing the announcement, they were trying to sort of usurp other people who were, doing announcements at similar times. It didn't quite land. The code wasn't ready. Their marketing wasn't on point, and it kind of then just got swallowed up into, all of these other releases at the same time, and kind of just flew under the radar. And then continued like that for months and months. And then at Expo, 2 days before Expo, they obviously had learned their lesson, and then just like dropped the bomb that was Winchester 2 days before Expo. Nobody was expecting it. There was not a peep of a rumor about that game coming out. And then suddenly, like, Expo was theirs for the taking. That's all anybody was talking about. Even Harry Potter was like third in line in terms of like excitement at that show. And as a result of Winchester, like, raising the profile of Barrels of Fun, suddenly everybody was then playing June. Like, we were all lining up to play June. That was the first time I played it. They had the new Backlash there, which is a million times better than the portrait Backlash they initially released with. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't know whether you guys have seen it, but a big picture of the sandworm, and, with these tiny characters down below, really sort of captures the scale of the story, as it is. And the sound, I mean, I love the new movies. I'm not familiar with books, not familiar with the old movies, but I love the new movies, particularly the arena scenes. When the music and the atmosphere and the scale just completely gives you tingles. And I thought the game shot beautifully. It shot really well. It was really good fun. The sound was amazing, and I was like, why is everybody sleeping on this? This is a really great game, and I think a lot of people had that same reaction at that show. And so it's funny, isn't it? Like you say that sort of Winchester kind of took the crown away, took the focus away from that manufacturer. But I think in some ways it sort of refocused people's attention on them in a lot of ways too, and said, look, these guys are actually, they're contenders for like one of the most exciting manufacturers around at the moment. And you could see Dave was just absolutely loving it at the show, and felt like kind of affirmation for all that hard work, I suppose. And massive shout out to Jeff Dodson too. Who did the sound work on June? You said Jeff. Is it a different Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff Dirty Paul.
Yeah. So he did June as well, did he?
Yeah, that's how he got introduced. So he started off doing work for them on Dune, and then went on to Winchester.
Because yeah, I obviously know that he worked on Winchester, and the sound on that is just incredible. But
I think he's
I
even planning to do stuff around Labyrinth, to retroactively do some work on that as well, which is great. It's like that's what I like when they bring in talent like that, right? It's having a knock-on positive effect.
I think the story is that Jeff. We were lucky enough to have Jeff on the channel. He's a really, really good guy, and I think if I got this right, I think he had got hold of a June, and he basically contacted them and said, I can help you out. Or he was doing a Twitch stream, and then during it, and then I think David then got in touch with him and said, actually, if you are serious about helping us out, come on over. So a lovely story, actually.
Yeah, it's great. So he originally, like, he's sort of semi-retired now in a way. Like, basically he just released like a whole bunch of music that is kind of, on those music sites where you go and find sort of licensed music, and you pay a nominal fee or whatever, and you download the song. So he's got like all this music out there on these sites, and that's how he just earns his income. So it's just like a sort of a residual income for him now, and so that's why he's now just going all in on pinball, because he's got this secondary income from that.
Yeah,
nice.
He's just focusing on what he loves, which is great, and it's amazing to have him because he's a real talent.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's going to do some stuff.
I mean, I talked to him at Expo, and I'd never seen any of streams. Well, I saw a little bit of one, but then I watched he did a few other streams. I was watching him, and he really listens. When I was talking to him, it felt like I really give me your input. And I think he's a great addition to Battles of Fun along with Carl. So I mean, like I say, I'm going to try and get June. I know I think they've done a last call for the end of the year.
That's right.
31st of December.
If you want one, give David a phone. Tell him Neil McCrae sent you, and he'll add 10% to the price. Yeah, no, don't tell him that.
Also, the topper I should mention as well. Yeah,
the
topper is obviously in pre-production at the moment, and it's obviously you can view it and see it in prototype stage. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a similar window to get that at least at a discount price. So if you want to get a Dune and the topper, now's the time to really do it. Really.
And the back glass, because I agree.
Back glass has no limitations. Apparently, you can buy that whenever. But the topper is limited.
It's stunning. I did a head turn on that when I walked past. I was like, "What game?" Because I thought it was a different game. The way they had it set up at Expo, I was like, "What?" And then I thought, "Oh wow, this is cool." In fact, I think that's when I spoke to Dirty Pinball because he was there at the time. I'm going to move us on, and of course the other kind of game that was, I think, got a lot of focus at Expo. Get to the Chopper is Predator, and I am Dave. Why don't you kick us off on that? Because did you play it at Expo?
I did, but I had the worst game of pinball. Sometimes you just you play a game and it's just
drain.
It just gets sucked down the left outlane.
Normally when I turn the video camera on, David.
and not only that, but basically the guy in front of me was like the Dutch champion, and he like a half-hour game directly in front of me. And so I was kind of just standing around, and my back was kind of hurting from being in line. And then I finally got my go, and then I drained within literally 2 minutes. Yeah, and so I didn't get a good chance to play it really, but I stood over it for ages and watched other people play, and chatted with a lot of other people at the show who had played it. And I mean, I know I didn't have a great go on it, but even what I did see and what I played, it feels like Pinball Brothers' best game to date.
Okay.
And I think that, I don't want to make too fine a point of it, but it's a pretty low bar when you look at ABBA and, games like that. And I'm not a fan of Aliens either, even though, that's obviously got its fans. I believe mostly people who are just absolutely obsessed with the franchise, because for me, it's not a great game to play.
My wife would agree with you.
Yeah.
She's always telling me, "Can you sell it yet?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah. And obviously it's probably and also it's not really a Pinball Brothers game either, is it? It's a highway game that they're made.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Reran, so you can't really class it as one of theirs. And I thought that ABBA was contender for worst game of the year 2 years ago or 1 year ago, whenever it was. And they just astound me sometimes, those guys. Like that game's got a lot to offer. I think the sculpts on it are fantastic. I think particularly the hut area on the lower left is really quite beautiful. I think the artwork's been done really well. That's Orich, who you guys might know the shadow alternative translite that he did. That's really good, more comic book style. So he did all that. He's the guy that does the art on Predator. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think it looks.
I think he did the artwork on Alien as well, didn't he?
I'm not sure. Maybe because he's ex-Highway, so that would that would make sense. And then during the teaser campaign that lasted about 4 weeks. Do you remember?
Way too long. Way too long.
4 weeks, and I was like, come on. But the biggest tease that they did was the helicopter, where it's just like a post that stops the ball, the blades go, and then the ball gets released, and it's like.
That's something I hope you can fix, Davey, later on. Maybe give them a proper helicopter.
Not a chance. Do you know how many units they're doing of Predator?
Less than 300, isn't it?
Not enough to warrant mod making.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough to warrant mod making. That's right. So, unfortunately, it is a bit of a numbers game when you sort of mod scene, and you do have to look at sales and unfortunately, games like that sort of don't warrant it. I mean, even games like Winchester, which I do really want to do something for, it's still 500 units, and you have to think how many
will buy it.
Of course,
are going to buy the mod for it. You're not going to.
You'd do well to sell 100 mods on a 500 unit game, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be the absolute max. I mean, I wouldn't even hit, 20% of Godzilla. Total units sold. Like I'd be lucky to have even hit 10%. We've done calculations, and it might be 5%. So
wow,
even that's massive.
Yeah,
for me, Predator's an art in how not to launch a game. The shambles. I get that they're trying to build up the hype, but you're starting from a position where one of the key assets of the game is not there. It was worse. Do you remember? They had someone leak the gameplay of the code that wasn't authorized, which showed Arnold in it. And I bought it based on that leak, and then it didn't have the code, and I went, no. Yeah,
that was it.
So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and hope
that wasn't their fault, though.
Yeah, well, let's hope it wasn't, right? But the simple fact is they knew at the start of this they didn't have Arnie. And Arnie's, I hate to say it, but he is this film, right? I mean, that's why people,
for sure.
That's why people got it, right? So they're trying to hype this thing up. It took too long. It leaked as well. There's a few bits and pieces. The artwork, again, I think when you start from nothing, because I don't think they had half the assets, it's probably not the worst it could be. And it's Auric, I think, the guy who did the art. He did do the art for I'm pretty sure he did the art for Alien, and he did that great Star Trek backglass re-theme for Stern's old Star Trek that was pretty cool as well. But I can't help but think, pinball manufacturers, when the main asset isn't unavailable, just stop. Just stop. It's like, it'd be like doing Harry Potter and you just call it Wizard,
No Harry Potter.
Yeah, can you imagine it? It's
like Harry Potter.
Yeah. I just can't imagine why.
Could you imagine if they'd have done it where they said, "Well, you are the character, you're the wizard," so we didn't feel we needed to put Harry in it. I could just imagine some spin. It would be terrible.
Yeah, that's right. Like anybody's going to believe that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't say anything about it. What I do know is I spoke earlier on about when someone gets a dream theme, please don't muck it up. Predator's a dream theme. There's no doubt about that. That's some pretty awesome stuff there. And I think when you hear certain companies are getting licenses, you think, oh my goodness, like Lord of the Rings. If Lord of the Rings was going to be remade now, and I heard that bloody Home Pin were going to get it or something like that, I think, oh no, really? You'd think it's spoiled. So
It'd just be a ring.
But the beauty of it is at least you know that there's already a good Lord of the Rings game, right?
No, it's true. You're absolutely right. Of course. Having played Alien, Queen, that was them as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Queen?
Yeah.
Yeah, Queen and ABBA. They for me, the games don't shoot right. So if they have improved and this is their best game to date,
it's interesting you say that. It's because they're using
good.
the fast hardware now, so it's the same hardware that Barrels of Fun is using.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
it should make a massive difference because Alien was
absolutely.
It didn't even have end of stroke switches, so you couldn't do drop catches. The ball would hit the flipper and it would just go down by itself. It was like, ugh. It
was weird, wasn't it? Really weird feel, very floaty, very weird. It just didn't feel like a film. Like if you play a CGC, it sort of feels like a Stern, and you know what I mean. There's a certain feel to modern games. It doesn't feel like that.
Actually, the original Alien, the highway one, was done properly. They then kind of forgot to do it. But I think for me on Predator, I mean, it just feels cheap. The shots, there's two good shots in it, the kind of opposite end shots. When the flippers aren't warm, you can kind of hit them. The middle of the game with this kind of weird U-turn just makes no sense to me at all. And then you've got this kind of weird mess over on the left-hand side. It's like
I swear I never seen a single person hit that left ramp. You know what I'm on about? That you have to hit with the upper flipper.
Yeah, I mean the thing I'd say about Predator though, and I kind of knew it'd be bad. I played it and I confirmed my suspicions, but a few friends of mine at Expo were saying, I really liked it. So I went back to play it again because I thought maybe I've missed something. But I just came away thinking, nah, this isn't great. I know Retro Ralph did a stream on it last night, and he loves it. So it's definitely got a home for some people, but I think it's another theme opportunity missed.
Yeah, but it has landed better than all their other games to date. But, I think that in terms of the numbers that they need to be hitting and the games they need to be selling, it's not going to be enough.
I was going to say that license must cost them a lot, right? So 300 units, is that even enough to cover the license cost?
I mean, Spooky once, and this is Spooky talking as well.
Sure.
Everybody's cost structures are different, and like, who knows what people are paying for what and what they're investing and what they're cutting corners on and all that kind of crap. But Spooky once said that I think it was 500 units is the break-even point,
right?
Them. So anything above that is profit, maybe even pure profit. I don't know, but that's the break-even point. So if you're selling 300 games or 220 or 250 or something, I can't remember exactly what Sean was saying at Expo. And who knows whether even that's accurate as well. Like that could be what.
Yeah, I mean, I just have so many different numbers, Dave, on how many they were making. They were doing a last order, then the order went on, then they were using dealers, then they were doing it themselves. I mean,
I love Sean. He's such a lovely dude. So Sean is the guy that I worked with on the Funhouse 2 project.
Okay.
When me, Melvin from Dutch Pinball, and Sean, who's now working for Pinball Brothers as a rep or a tech or support.
He's like the man in the US.
Yeah. He's such a great dude. He's a lovely dude, but he very easily gets into situations where he sort of gets used and abused, I think. And I'm not saying that that's happening at Pinball Brothers. I would like to make those kind of admissions. He's not shared any of that information with me. But certainly, I can tell you that he looked quite tired at Expo.
Yeah.
Right. Not his usual sort of happy-go-lucky self. So I think it's been tough. And it's difficult to know what's going on behind the scenes. Who knows?
Yeah, you kind of wonder where they go from here. I get the sense they've pissed off their dealership network, and I think trying to do pinball without dealers is incredibly tough.
Yeah.
and the whole league thing. I don't know. Look, I think, like I said, there are people like this game. I would, for me, if there was one kicking about for maybe $4,000 and we had a slot in the club, I might pick one up and stick it in the club. And that's depressing because I'd put Predator as one of those themes as in the same space as Evil Dead. And it kind of just feels like when you walk away, I just felt there's some bits, there's some potential there, but then there's so many other bits. Like the sound and the audio is actually pretty decent.
I think the call-outs are pretty good if you ignore the bad Arnold impersonator, who I think even Neil, you've done better than that. But like,
mate, I sent them. I phoned them and said, mate, I'll do the call-outs for Predator because honestly,
so there's a million people they could have got. What about that guy that even did the one for Terminator 2 with the pin sound? He does a pretty good knockoff impression of Arnold, right? There's so many people they could have gone to. It's just crazy. But I think, I don't think it's a terrible game.
More like Chewbacca than Arnold.
I think genuinely, I think the code looks interesting, although it's a bit weird the way you can resurrect, like you recruit your team members. They can get executed by the Predator, but then you can revive them, even though they show clips of their heads getting blown apart. It's like, I don't know. I would have probably gone a little bit more loose with the license at that point. Maybe used animations rather than movie clips. But anyway,
the problem is animations cost money.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes,
they've got a limited budget, and I'm with Davey. I don't think they've made any money from this. In which case, so Queen, I don't think they made any money on that. ABBA, I'll be amazed if they made any money on that. Predator, have they made any money on that? I think I'm going to guess if they did, it wasn't a lot, and I think they struggled to break even.
They're probably riding high on the Alien sales, right? They need another Alien sale, basically.
Well, and Alien isn't their game.
That Predator should have been it.
Exactly.
Really, that's a license.
I'm going to move us on in the interest of time.
Yeah.
I think. Look, the next obvious game on the list is Kong. I think
I'm going to abstain from this one because I don't like it. I've played it. So that's it. I liked it and I didn't play it. There's my comment.
Hey, that's Scott. That's what does.
No, you played it and you didn't like it.
That's true. Yes.
Yes, you said you liked it and you didn't play it.
Step my word.
That's two very different things, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. So Myth
tried to keep us distinct and messed it up. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, look. So I really like this game. I think it's again. I think it was maybe a little bit early out the gate code wise, and there's a couple of. I think if I was Stern and I'm doing something like that Kong mech, I would have had a sticker on the front that said, "Please make sure you check your Kong mech before," because again they use radio control servos. They don't. There's no unless you self test them. You don't know where the zero is on them. I used to race model cars, so I know it all too well. That's why every remote control's got a trim function on it, right? That bit they didn't get right, but I absolutely love the game. I think the whole there's a few homages to things. The whole climb thing's a lot of fun. The island, moving to the island modes in New York, again, the code's still relatively early if you compare it to, say, Jaws. But I think this game's fantastic. I know a lot of people thought the art was awful. I actually think in person the art's fantastic. It's not everybody's cup of tea, for sure, but I think Jerry and the team got a bit of abuse for that, which I think is unfounded. The one bit I'm less happy about probably of this game is the music. The call-outs and the sound effects are all good. I think the music is probably where I would like something better. But as a kind of game that I go to Kong quite a lot, and I think it's actually a relatively easier game. It's quite hard to lose the ball, so I think for new folks, it's potentially a good way in. A lot of people gave Stern a bit of a kick because they didn't license the license bits. and I think on this they just about get away with it. Like, so the Empire State Building isn't in it. For me, it doesn't bother me because the gameplay's so good. The gameplay's so great. I think there's a lot more to come out code wise for this game. But for me, after Evil Dead, it's kind of my number 2 game of the year. And I've loved playing it and seeing it be played. But I still think, like, it's like with Jaws, there's a code bit. They got to a bit of code, and then there's a long wait for the final bits. I think we're in that kind of part of the process. But I think it's another strong game from Keith. Is it his best game? Maybe not, but it's still. I think it's still up there. And I think there's a lot more innovation in the game than it gets credit if you kind of just drill into it and look at what's there and kind of dial into it. So in short, I love the game, and I think it's got more to come in terms of where the code goes and where they take that game.
I think nothing demonstrates how lucky and spoilt we are in pinball than the bad reception that Kong has got, because I think on another year it would win Game of the Year. I think it's really tough when you compare some of the games we've discussed that do all these magnificent things, shotgun shells and sandworms and stuff like that. But I'd just like to, just have to remind yourself, it has a King Kong at the back of the playfield that breaks up a train and the balls run along a train track. That's a very, very impressive pinball moment on itself. That's really good. The upper flipper, left small upper flipper, what a shot off of there. That is one of the best shots in pinball. I think I love that shot. It's repeatable, it's satisfying. There's some brilliant ball paths on it. It's got the fathom in lane, out lane, swapping over thing going on, which is really good. You can actually nudge it as well from one to the other and retrieve the ball from there. I don't care for the artwork. I think they're almost one too many of those. I don't know if it probably wasn't Zombie Yeti or it was someone else, but it had that cartoonish look about it. I would have liked a different artwork on it. But I think it's a magnificent pinball machine, and I just think it's a really, 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 really tough year. I think it shoots so well. I don't mind the animations at all on it. I actually think they're done quite well, actually.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things you could point at Stern where they not done well, and I'm happy to do so. But I don't think that game is one of them. And I was lucky enough to have, because of Pinball Evan, I was lucky to have the Pro and the Premium side by side, and I tell you what, those games shot beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Gong as well. I think it's such
feels good.
I mean, when
feels good when you hit it.
I'll be honest with you, when I saw it, I thought, really? I wasn't convinced. Cards on the table, but once you've shot it a few times, and you're in the middle of a game. And and the next thing for the big collect is bang the gong. When you hit it, it's like, ho. I love it. I mean, folks with a Pro,
but it's not really.
Not an easy shot. It's not an easy shot.
It's a massive gong. It's right there, middle of the left flipper, and it's not easy. You can hit it on a backhand as well, but it's not easy on either.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of shots that look really easy but are actually quite difficult in it. The kind of loop shot where you hit it in the bottom in the scoop and it kind of kicks it out. That's a tricky shot, and then definitely the other shot, which is kind of an
biplane shot's really hard.
Yeah, exactly. That is such a tricky shot. But again, I mean, this is the thing. I think Kong's got like 5 or 6 amazing shots where there's other games out there, and I probably put, we just talked about Predator, I put that where it's got one shot that's as good as the least good shot in Kong. So I think it's definitely another great Elwyn game. Again, it's one of those things, a few years from now, where will it stand, in terms of greatness and completeness? It's definitely up there. It's just, how does it compare? And it goes back to the point, Chris, you were making at the start, which is so many games competing for your pound notes, and in any other year, I think last year, this might have been game of the year, or it might just had a different vibe around the game. But
Yeah.
if I look at the club, there's 2 games in the club that just demand the most play: Kong and Star Wars. And I think probably in the kind of tournament side, Kong gets a lot of love, for sure. And it's not, it's not I wouldn't call it a tournament game, actually, because it's for the tournament players, it's quite easy. And but ZMAC put a 2.5-hour game on it at Papa, which meant I was commentating until 3 a.m, which was no fun, let me tell you.
I could say.
I do never play any game for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it was staggering to watch, and actually, I thought some of the videos were quite violent. Where there's this bit where he's punching. It's like a slap to the T-Rex. And I'm thinking, my God, if kids saw that, you remember the Tango advert that got banned because kids were slapped,
the big orange hand.
Yes, I remember that.
But in there's a mode in the game where there's the basically Kong's literally punching this thing, the T-Rex down. I'm like, holy moly, that's violent. But I think I genuinely think it's a great game, and I think it will. I think I predict it's going to get a bit as time progresses. It'll be like a fine wine that it gets better. Davey, did you get one of these? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've got one, and doing mods for it as well, and I love it. I think it's been really maligned for whatever reason. I think the artwork, being that it does look like another Zombie Yeti effort, even though, as you said, Chris, it's not. It's 3 different artists all working together. But the fact that they sort of keep sort of digging into that well, I think it just overstepped people's welcome for that sort of style. Me personally, I love it, particularly the playfield art. I think it's fantastic. It kind of reminds me of those 1980s Dungeons and Dragons board games where like every little square has its own detail, like the outline sort of has snakes sort of winding down. Everywhere you look, there's something going on, like there's the sailors jumping over the chasms, and for me, it just sort of speaks to my childhood, that style of artwork. So I absolutely love it. And I think that the game itself has got a ton of personality as well, just the way that they make it sort of that 1920s sort of explorer sort of vibe, and the movie introduction stuff. It's a lot of thought's gone into it. And for me, I would, people were complaining about the fact that they didn't get original Kong footage from the movies or whatever. It's like, well, if they'd have done that, you would have just been complaining that they were just redoing Godzilla all over again, So you can't have it both ways. They decided not to do that, and they used the same graphics team as from Metallica Remastered, and you can
that I can tell. I was going to say I wasn't going to say much on it, but I'd never understood why people said animations were better in one game or another. But for me, Metallica Remastered has got the best animations, full stop. Yeah. And then I look at Kong, and I can definitely tell that animation style is there. Sure. But they need to just do that full stop. I look at Walking Dead, and I know, Neil, you love that game.
I mean, I did.
That animation's terrible.
I sort of said the same thing. I was like, why don't they just rinse these? Because these guys are good. These are the guys that are best.
Yeah.
Use them for every game. Yeah. They do. They just don't always use the same style. And so that's interesting. But for me, that sort of that style was very visible between those two games, between Metallica Remastered and Kong. I don't think it was as good in Kong as what they did in Metallica.
Oh no, Metallica's their best. I'm biased to that, but I really do think it is their best.
Yeah, I mean the sequences where the band members are like walking through from shadow and turning from
skeletons to live bodies. Yeah, it's amazing, right? It's just so good.
Good. And
if you ever got to Blackened as well, the animations on Blackened are insane.
Yeah.
The spark going down the cord, going into Sparky, like it's just so good. But anyway, I know there's sort of some similarities between that and Kong, and I thought the game shoots really well. It's again, it just feels like an element in terms of sort of how it's put together. I think the upper flipper shots are really fun and interesting. The biplane shot I find really difficult. I can't sort of nail that consistently. The gong shot I think is fine. I'm not, I don't get the sort of same sense of satisfaction as Neil does from that. And overall, I'm just not very good at it. Like I can't get over like 200 million. And I know I should.
I played it. It was brutal, but I know Neil. You say it's easy, and you've seen people play for 2.5 hours.
I found it quite easy.
Did you? Okay.
This all comes down to, are the shots where they're supposed to be for your own playing style?
Maybe,
I found I could hit sometimes. John Wick. I could play John Wick for 30 seconds.
I don't seem to score very well. Like I'm not doing. There's something I'm not doing.
I mean, this is a thing about Keith games. There's keys to them about how you unlock big scores, and it's much more. There's many dimensions to it, and if you can't, Keith rewards skill, and if you can't string shots together, you're going to struggle with this game. It's like Iron Maiden. People say, "Oh, Iron I can do." I have a game that's 2 million. I have another game that's 200 million, and it's
is it
not
obvious to what to shoot though in Kong?
Yeah, 100%.
It is it? Because at least for me, when I looked at the playfield, I was like, "What am I shooting?"
I don't think it is. I don't think it's obvious.
No, I mean, I play Dune. I know exactly what I'm shooting. I don't need a manual. I don't need a playbook. It's obvious to me.
Probably my one criticism of Kong 2 is that I feel like the code needs to be a little bit more. I don't quite know how to describe it, but there needs to be sort of like an overarching sort of idea about the progression of the game.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like at the moment, it feels a little bit like you do a mode and it's in the jungle. You do.
I've watched people stream it, and I just don't. I'm like.
I think the playfield's so busy. It's often hard to see the inserts, though. I find with
I think
that.
that's. When you've watched it, I've watched it a lot, and I've seen some of the big top players put huge scores on it. So maybe it's kind of, for me, I kind of know what to do because of that.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I think that maybe that's what I'm looking at from a person that just goes, I don't want to read a manual. And I know Keith Elwin games, it's always the same. Avengers, I don't have a clue. They're like, just read the PDF. It's like the size of Mother Earth's yellow pages. Yeah. It's like, no thanks. I just want to play a game.
Avengers is a lot simpler than people give it credit for. That's what makes me chuckle. Whenever I hear about, it's so complicated. Honestly, you couldn't get a more simple game, at least in my view. I think
I've had it 3 times, and I don't know what's going on with it.
maybe we should get together and do an Avengers night.
We can do that. We can do that.
Look, I think Scott, when I first played it and understanding what to do, it probably wasn't as obvious as I'm used to. I think, Chris, your point about a lot of inserts is definitely there, but I think Keith's always very good with the call-outs about guiding you kind of what to do. I think the thing that wasn't so clear at the start was how do you start a mode, and I think that's got better. But this is the problem with the way Stern do games is, they add these features to it, and then they add the polish that helps you decide what you want to do. If you look at Jaws now, I can't think of a more polished game in terms of telling you what you have to do. It's staggeringly good. So look, I'm conscious of time, guys, and we're way over where I thought we would be. We're gonna talk about one more game in detail because I think we have to, and then the games that we haven't talked about, we'll kind of just do a bit of a thumbs up and a thumbs down. So obviously the game I'm going to talk about, it's going to be tough because At least I don't think two of you have played it, but it's Star Wars Fall of the Empire, which I am fortunate enough to have. I mean, first of all, let's just get the whole European thing out of the way. That's a shit show. Disney are a shit show. Stern, I think had faith that things would go what they needed, and it probably was misplaced. I think they genuinely...
Because at Expo, the word was that they were going to get that license for the EU.
Okay.
I think, yeah, and look, they still believe they're going to get it. My understanding was they're in a queue, basically. So there's a whole bunch of stuff before them. But you know, as it was explained, so I know a few people at Disney. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's, you know, they're looking at, do I do a Lego Star Wars head for C-3PO and sell 1 billion of them, or do I do a pinball machine and sell a couple of thousand of them? And they look at it purely through that lens, and that's the pain. My fear, candidly, is that more Disney IP goes through that same
lens
pain, and you know, we'll have to wait and see if that's the case.
If that's the case, you know what I mean? Like Disney aren't at their best.
No.
No, but they now own. But they acquired all the Fox IP. The scale of their catalog, Davey, feels hard for me to believe that you can ignore that catalog in the way that, you know, Scott and I were talking about this, which is, you know, Jersey Jack saying there are no more big themes, right? Which I'm not sure we believe, but I kind of understand what he's saying. You've got Harry Potter and Star Wars done, and Marvel's kind of probably done to death.
Yeah.
You know, Bond's done.
Maybe he's referring to themes that appeal to people outside of hardcore pinball.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's probably true. So look, let me just cover the game. So look, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. The previous Star Wars games, in fact, all of the previous Star Wars games for me have been, frankly, a disappointment. The last one, Steve Ritchie's one, it was a good game, but it felt like they designed the game and then poured Star Wars from the top on it and hoped that it just kind of stuck. And for me, it never did. The whole X thing with the multipliers was just beyond my capability of I just didn't enjoy it. And I bought a game. In fact, I've still got it. I've got a Pro. I bought it specifically to learn how to play it and see if I enjoyed it. And I spent months on it and thought, this is shit. Candidly, I just did not enjoy it. So along comes a new Star Wars game, and I'm like, hallelujah! Maybe this is the golden fleece. And when I first saw it, the playfield was like, it wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was definitely not expecting a fan layout. I was definitely expecting more. Having come from the previous Star Wars, I was expecting a lot more playfield ball interaction than what I first saw, right? But I've been burned by having a view on games from looking at them too many times to go down that path. So I got on the plane and flew out for the launch at Stern. I wasn't on a plane. I was already there. It was at Papa. Is that right, Papa? Yeah, and I hang around to play it. I extended my stay for a few more days because they did a launch, and I played it and thought, this is a great game, and it shoots really nice. The Death Star shot was not perfect. I didn't think it was as bad as what we now learn it to be. And actually, I'm in two minds whether to fix mine, because I kind of like the fact that it's a tough shot. But all the shots shoot really nice. The pop bumpers where they are bring a really interesting challenging dimension to it, especially with the force modes. I absolutely love the artwork. I think it's some of Stern's best art on a game, and the 3 different versions of it. It's all hand drawn. Actually, the LE, I would prefer it wasn't the snow one, because that's the artwork I like the least. And the Spike 3 with the audio, and this is the frustration that I have with where people play games. when you've got it at home and you hear the audio, it just sounds, John Williams going, it just sounds amazing. The C3PO that they've got to do the call-outs is pretty decent. It's obviously not Anthony Daniels, but it's good. And the call-outs are pretty well done. And you got Ray Day doing the code, and I think the code is progressing pretty well. Still a long way to go on it, but again, he's adding things to it. And clearly, a lot of folks want a giant AT-AT on the play field. They want a Millennium Falcon that spins around and launches at light speed. Clearly, that is not there, right? And that, for some people, that's like an instant miss.
Fine though, because we've got Jabba who lights up like a Christmas
decoration.
So I was going to get to Jabba. Jabba clearly was when they'd all been out in the piss and thought, let's have a Jabba that lights up, right? So I take that. It's not. I'm just looking at it, kind of chuckling.
Dave, if there's a game you need to mod, it's that bloody Jabba the Hutt. Honest to God,
I think
just get rid of
it.
So there are mod makers on this game, very talented mod makers. So it is going to get a lot of attention. But you have to be into a game to mod it. Otherwise, you're just being a little bit disingenuous, aren't you? So, for me, I'm a massive Star Wars fan as well, particularly the first three movies. For me, that, it's the original Star Wars, which is now known as A New Hope, that is kind of like a formative movie in my growing up, and unlike all the cool kids who are into Han Solo, Luke Skywalker was my guy, I must have seen that movie like over 50 times, I'm sure. Yeah. And if it's ever on telly, I'll watch it again.
Sure.
It's one of like Back to the Future. And so, I would love for there to be a Star Wars pinball machine that I really feel captures what's in my head, and maybe it doesn't exist, maybe that's the whole problem with the new Star Wars films and whatever. We're never going to be able to recapture our youth in that way. We're never going to feel the same way.
I think there is though, right? That we've seen manufacturers like Barrels, like JGP, like Spooky. They all show what we can expect from a game where they have huge investment in the theme. I just feel like Stern have a knack of going, we've got the best theme ever, and we're just going to do the most minimal viable product.
Yeah,
I think, and I totally agree. So I was thinking exactly what you were just saying there. But I just feel, bearing in mind that you've got to apply context to anything when you're talking about anything. The context of Stern is the year we've been talking about, and some of the games we've already discussed. So the competition is higher than ever.
Sure.
The additional context is they're launching a Spike 3. Which is them saying, right, this is our next push up. We see what everyone else is doing. I see you, and I raise you this. And I think at that point, you go, right, we're going to do Spike 3. Keith, you're on this. You're designing Star Wars. We're going to do Rad Cows. We're going to put it out there. There is going to be, all right, not a flying Millennium Falcon, but there's going to be something.
Something big, yeah.
And something like, funny enough, like Kong breaking a train. Whatever, pick your scene from Star Wars or whatever, Empire Strikes Back, something like that. It's going to be big, it's going to be in the corner, and it is going to be something like that. Bantha or something, anything. And I just think you can't then do that, because then you get to the point where actually this is Spike 3. John Borg's doing it, not Keith, not our best designer. And oh, by the way, it's not really available everywhere. And I just think, well, okay, you can do that, but so much of pinball is based on FOMO. So I've gone and ordered. I've not played Beetlejuice, but I've ordered one.
Same.
It's FOMO. That's what it is. I know. Well, we all know somebody who possibly makes other things that get stuck on a pinball machine, who saw the Winchester. He went, well, I'm having one of those, and he went and ordered one. That's FOMO. And unfortunately, if you don't grab people with the FOMO, which Stern didn't do with Star Wars, then the next shiny thing comes along in 2 more weeks. You think, oh, I'll have that one instead. And to be honest with you, I'd until we started talking about it, I'd even forgotten that Star Wars existed.
And that's a shocking, problem, isn't it? Yeah, and you think a big title like that. But I mean, good point though about this is Spike 3. We've got a big screen, and yet we've seen 2 titles come out that have used very little of it.
Yeah.
I do wonder sometimes they do misstep a bit.
Like 3 is a cost-cutting exercise. You know, it's not a grand iteration or a reinvention of that platform. You know, it was designed to make the assembly process cheaper and
bring things in house, right?
A couple of blingy items in, like they have to upgrade the speakers, they have to upgrade the screen to say no, it is an upgrade because see, we've got these things. But ultimately, it was about redesigning the board so they're cheaper to make. And I mean, we don't have absolute confirmation of that, but that is my strong suspicion that is the case. And for me, and I know Neil disagrees with me on this because he loves the sound of the new speakers, but I believe they've made a huge misstep going for having 2 cones. I think it ruins the look of the back box. I think it ruins the look of speaker lights. And you've got these figure-of-8 patterns going on, and it's just like circles just look so much cleaner and nicer, and you can do better lighting effects. I just think that's a huge miss.
Yeah.
I think they could have gotten just as good a sound out of a like a composite cone speaker. So you have the tweeter in the middle and the.
Was anyone really asking for a bigger screen either? I don't think they were, right?
I think people have always complained about the stock speakers of Stern not being great.
Yeah,
obviously,
agreed.
There's companies who have capitalized on that, like Pinball from Pinstown and stuff, selling speakers that upgrade those things, and it is basically giving the middle finger to all these guys who have produced a lot of speaker lights and got massive stock ready to sell that they can no longer sell for these speakers because they're a different shape, a different size, and etc. But for me personally, I wasn't impressed by that. And so Rob from Tech Pinball, he got invited to the Stern media event. He sent me all of his footage and he said, look, I'm going to release my footage. I want your take on it. And he was quite glowing in his but he didn't show me that. He's like, I don't want you to see what I did. Just look at the footage and then, record your unboxing, if you will, and basically my enthusiasm very quickly dropped off to the point of seeing Jabber, and then from then on it was like just tearing to shreds, and it only got worse with the shampoo bottle heads, midway down the play.
Oh gosh, yeah, Pez heads, yeah.
Look, I mean, I was making the point at Expo in the sense that, and I love Stern, I love whatever they do, but I think they're making some huge missteps at the moment. And
this is what Chris said, right? They have the talent. They have the ability.
In the building. The talent's in the building.
Yeah.
And I think they're making some missteps, and I think this is, for me, is their biggest one so far. If it was me, and obviously it's not it's very easy to sit back and say what people should and shouldn't do, and there's millions of business reasons why people make the decisions that they make. But to remake the first 3 films in the way that they did it, and to call it a different title as though it was going to be a new storyline, and then it's not. It's just the first 3 films. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Now, obviously, when you're putting a machine in a pub or whatever, people want to relate to the first 3 films or whatever. It's like, that's great. But for me, it's like, if I was going to do it, I'd just go, all right, we're going to do the Battle of Hoth. We're going to call it the Battle of Hoth. It's going to be all the snow stuff. It's going to be about bringing down AT-ATs, and that's the entire pinball machine, and the wizard mode is like trying to get the ships off the base or whatever, and destroying turrets.
Amazing that would be, yeah.
Yeah.
You can play for the rebels, whatever. You could have a loop shot that loops around the AT-AT to try and bring it down. There's so many simple ideas. It wouldn't have to even be mech heavy. Just think about what those movies do and iterate around that. And I just think there was a lack of creativity in it. And I mean, I know people would disagree with that, and Neil says it shoots really well. I don't personally think that it does. But I'm not as good at it in, so
I mean, so it's kind of funny, Dave, because what you describe is what's now in the code of this game, right? So there's a mode where you have to. There's a kind of bit where does Han Solo shoot first or not, and they've kind of stringed the whole thing around progressing in that mode in the way that you kind of describe. And I'll be honest, of all the Star Wars games, and it's probably not a great comparator, right? Because none of them are fantastic. but genuinely feels like for the first time you're actually in the movie playing the game. Right now, look, we can all argue about is there enough on the playfield or not? Is there a big mech or not? Largely, I like to have mechs and like have those kind of moments, but actually, I don't think this game. When you're playing the game, I think the gameplay kind of just steps through all of this, and again with the sound, and the reason they need a bigger screen is because they want to add more resolution, and trying to add resolution to this I'm pretty sure they
You can get a 1080p screen though at 15-inch, which is what they had before.
You can, Scott, but half the people who are blind wouldn't be able to read the stuff that's on it.
Maybe.
Not right in front of you. That is the big
I don't know.
issue,
I mean,
right?
Barrels of Fun, I can't remember what screen resolution they're running at, but I'm fairly certain that's a full HD.
1080p. Yeah. This is 4K. Stern's screen's 4K.
Oh, it's 4K, is it? He's getting mute.
Lost your sound, Neil. Lost your sound.
Still muted, Neil.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, man. I got a whole lot of family.
Yeah, I didn't realise. So the Spike 3 is a 4K screen, is it now? He's got kids. The beauty of Christmas.
Sorry, I got family bozos giving me grief by the fact I told them not to. Anyway,
I think we need to give it some more time though, Neil, because I mean that does sound fun. Like, you know, the way you're describing sort of the Guido scene and Han shooting first and stuff, like that sounds like something I'd get a lot of enjoyment out of. So it's one of those ones where I was probably tired. I'd probably had about 4 beers, and you know, we jumped on Star Wars. We couldn't hit the Death Star shot. I started banging on about how nobody needed another Death Star and another pinball machine.
And then Steve Ritchie in the face.
The screen and I'm just sorry to come back to that, right? But the screen, I mean, this is the thing that's different about Stern. They do actually test a few things before they kind of commit to it, because when they commit to something, it's in the millions. You know, they're on so you get something like the screen wrong, and you got a lot of screens going in the bin, and you know that's something that is painful when you get it wrong. I can tell you, right, and I've got awful eyesight, so screens, like I'm using this huge screen here. It's something that's important, and I can tell you right now, you put a high resolution on that screen, and you try and then use the video. So licensors won't let you use video clips and put your own graphics over them. They refuse point blank to do that. So you've got to figure out a way of having that video there, then putting all the other information that you need on it. And look at Godzilla as an example, probably the best game of all time, right? But it's irritating as hell when it's playing 14 videos and you're trying to figure out where you are in the game or even what your score is, right?
Yes.
So I think, you know, there's a give and take. There's a give and take around where they are in terms of trying to use more of that screen. I think, and what they were definitely what they didn't want to do was make the back box wider, which I totally get because it fits through a door. You know, you try and fit any other.
No.
Yeah. No.
Goes back to what Davey said. People hate change. You change that form factor, you're screwing yourself.
Well, it's just look. You ask anyone who's got a normal house that took delivery of a Pulp Fiction. It's a freaking nightmare to get that game.
It is.
Yeah, but look, just a big shout out to everyone. Gonzo's Flipperama on YouTube, Davey at Stumbler Mods, Scott and I on Great British Pinball Podcast, Martin, who couldn't make it, on Pinball News. Have a great Christmas, everyone. Have a great New Year. Sorry about my grandson who was deposited upon me out of surprise.
It was the highlight, Neil.
It was. Comic relief.
Everyone have a great Pinball Christmas, and we will see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.